So how do we remember? For most of us, it's kind of like playing a little movie back in our heads. But what if you couldn't do that? What if your mind's eye was, well, blind? Today, we're going to dive into a totally fascinating way of thinking that affects millions of people.
All right, let's try a quick experiment. Go ahead, close your eyes if you want. Can you actually see it? The shiny top hat, the white gloves, that fluffy little rabbit with its nose twitching? For most of us, that's pretty easy, right? But what if it wasn't?
Well, for a whole lot of people, that inner movie screen is just blank. It's not there. And this condition has a name, and it's what we're talking about today, aphantasia.
So, let's get right into it. What exactly is aphantasia?
The name itself is actually the perfect clue. It comes from the Greek, a for without, and phantasia for the capacity to form mental images. So it's not a disorder or anything like that. It's just a different way of experiencing thought, the inability to voluntarily whip up images in your head.
And check out this quote from Blake Ross, one of the guys who created Firefox. It just perfectly captures the experience. He literally had no idea other people could see things in their heads until he was an adult. Can you imagine that? It's not that he forgets, there's just no visual replay. And you might be thinking this is some incredibly rare thing. But nope. Studies show that up to 4% of us are non-visual imagers. Now, to put that into perspective, that's about as common as having a food allergy. So yeah, millions and millions of people see the world this way.
And get this different way of thinking is clearly not some kind of barrier to being amazing. The list includes Penn Jillette, a magician who creates these incredible illusions he can't even visualize himself, Blake Ross, who we just mentioned, and even a memory competitor. It just goes to show you, aphantasia isn't a deficit. It's just different.
So this leads to the really big question, right? If you can't make mental pictures, how on earth do you remember anything at all?
Okay, let's try another quick little test. Right now, figure out how many windows are in your home. Go on, take a sec. You got a number?
Now think about how you just did that. Did you get a perfect, crystal clear picture of every single window? Probably not. More likely, you kind of did a conceptual walkthrough. You used your spatial memory, the layout of your home, and your factual memory. Okay, there are 2 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen.
And that right there is the key. People with aphantasia remember facts and concepts, not sensory replays. They know a beach has sand and water and sun. They can describe it to you perfectly. They just don't get the little mental postcard. It makes you realize memory is so much bigger than just pictures.
So, if memory is really about concepts in spatial awareness, is there a technique that plays to those strengths? Oh, you bet there is. And it's an ancient one, known as the memory palace.
And this isn't some new age trick, not at all. The technique goes all the way back to ancient Greece. The story goes that a poet named Simonides used it to identify bodies in a collapsed building just by remembering where everyone was sitting. It's been used by priests and scholars for centuries, and today it's a foundational tool for memory athletes.
And the best part? It's actually perfect for a non-visual mind. You just pick a place you know really well spatially, like your house. Then you map out a logical path through it. At each spot on your path, you place a conceptual cue, not a picture, but an idea or a fact. Then, to remember everything, you just walk the path and pick up the concepts you left there. Simple.
So here's a great example. Let's say you want to remember that Pennsylvania means Penn's small forest. You don't need to see anything. You just have to know that you've conceptually placed a statue of the magician Penn Jillette, our famous aphantastic, right there in your living room. The association, the link, is the memory hook, not the image.
But here's where it gets even cooler. The idea of a memory palace has become so much more than just a mnemonic device. It's really evolved into this powerful metaphor for how we structure our own minds and our stories.
I mean, look at this. On one hand, you have the writer Mira Bartok, who used the concept to help her rebuild her own mind after a traumatic brain injury. And on the other, you have this amazing podcast, The Memory Palace, which uses the name as a metaphor for history itself. Like each story is a treasure stored in a shared space that we can all visit.
So, what have we really learned here? Well, it's time to kind of rethink what memory even is, and how all of us, whether we have a mind's eye or not, can make it stronger.
Okay, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Your brain is not a camera. It's way more like a master storyteller. It weaves together facts and feelings and spatial layouts to build this rich world you live in. Seeing pictures is just one tool in its massive toolbox. It's not the whole machine. So,
Whether you're a super vivid visualizer or not, you can build your own palace. Just trust that spatial memory you already have. Focus on creating strong conceptual links. Think in facts, sounds, and feelings. And always remember this: memory is an action. It's something you build, not something you just play back.
Ultimately, every single mind is already a kind of palace. You know? It's filled with all these rooms and corridors of things we know and things we felt. So the only question left is the one you see right here. What will you choose to store inside yours? Thanks for watching.